Hi guys, so today we are going to revise this amazing topic called CARO 2020. Today we are going to revise this amazing topic called CARO 2020. Let's take a target. Let's take a target 21 clauses in 21 minutes. 21 clauses in 21 minutes. I am sure if you cooperate and participate well, we can definitely achieve this target of 21 clauses revised in 21 minutes. Let's start the game. Let's start the game. First clause is regarding our fixed assets, or you can also call PPE. For fixed assets or PPE, so it basically talks about PPT of PPE. PPT of PPE, that is proper records have to be maintained. Physical verification should be done at reasonable intervals. Physical verification should be done at reasonable intervals, and the title deed should be in the name of the company. Title deed should be in the name of the company. In case title deeds are not there, you will draw a proper table. Nature of the asset, in whose name the title deed is there, gross value of the asset, whether the other person is the promoter or the related party, and in the end you will write about the period for which the asset has not remained in our ownership, and the last point is reason for because of which the title is held by some other person. Then you will talk about revaluation. In revaluation you will discuss about two things: whether the revaluation has been done by a registered valuer, and the second thing, the amount of change due to revaluation. Sir, this amount of change is in the net carrying amount or gross carrying amount? Net carrying amount or gross carrying amount? Can anyone tell me quickly? Net carrying amount or gross carrying amount? Be quick, we have a target of 21 minutes. Net carrying amount or gross carrying amount? What is this change in? Net or gross? Net or gross? Net or gross? Quickly. Net amount or gross amount? Waiting. Everyone got it right, sir. The amount is net. We don't consider the gross amount, we consider the amount after charging depreciation. So if the amount of change is 10% or more, you also need to report the amount of change. And the last point is whether there are any proceedings under the Benami Act for holding any Benami property. Whether there are any proceedings under the Benami Act. So the 5 points you need to focus on are the proper records, physical verification, title deeds, that is your PPT, and the last 2 points are revaluation and Benami property. First clause done. Now comes the second clause. So second clause, AS2, Ind AS2, clause 2. Everything talks about inventory and it talks about 2 things, that is the lucky clause. What are the 2 things? Physical verification should be done at, again, reasonable intervals. Physical verification at reasonable intervals, considering 2 things: procedures and the coverage. Considering these things, we will check whether the physical verification has been done properly or not. And second thing comes the working capital loan. But remember, this loan should be greater than 5 crore from the banks or financial institution. So if you have been sanctioned a working capital loan greater than 5 crore from banks or financial institutions, auditor has to report that whether the quarterly returns and statement that you are filing are agreeing with the underlying records or not, underlying books of accounts or not. This is what the auditor has to report. Is clause 2 clear? Yes sir, clause 2 is clear. Now let's discuss about the clause 3. Third day is the leg day, that is the day of the legs. Legs means loans, investment, guarantee and security. First of all, you bifurcate them between SAJVs and others. So what are the SAJVs? SAJVs are basically, you can write SAJVs also here. SAJVs are basically subsidiaries, associates, joint ventures and others. These are the loans you have to bifurcate. Then in case of investment, guarantee and security, you need to make sure that the terms and conditions are not prejudicial to the interest of the company. Terms and conditions should not be prejudicial to the interest of the company, and the repayments and receipts should be regular. The schedule of repayment should be stipulated and the repayment should be regular. If they are overdue for more than 90 days, then you need to state the amount and the steps taken by the company to recover the amount. And the last 2 points were bad loans. The last 2 points were the bad naughty loans. So what were the bad naughty loans? So the first loans were, they were expected to be received this year, but we refreshed these loans, that we renewed it, we extended them, or we issued the fresh loan during the year. In this case, you need to mention the amount and you need to mention the percentage to total loans. Remember, this is not required. For the companies whose normal business whose normal business is to deal with such loans, whose normal business is deal with such loans, these companies are not required to do such reporting. So next points were loans and advances for which we don't know when we'll receive them. They are either repayable on demand or the due date has not been ascertained. Again, three things have to be reported: the amount of loan, percentage to the total loans, and the amount of loans that you have given to the promoters and the related parties as defined under section 2 subsection 76. Is clause 3 clear to all of you? Yes sir, clause 3 is clear. Let's talk about clause 4. Clause 4 is again related to legs, because the pain of the leg day shifts to the fourth day also. So legs, in this you need to check the compliance with two sections, 185 and 186, that you study in paper 4. 185 and 186 of Companies Act, and if you have not complied with them, then the auditor needs to report the non-compliance. Is everything till clause 4 clear here? Is everything till clause 4 clear here? Yes sir, till clause 4 everything is clear. Let's discuss about clause 5. What was clause 5 all about? Till fourth day of the month, complete your expenses. On the fifth day, deposit the amount in your bank account. Deposit the salary in your bank account on the fifth day after completing all your expenses. So fifth talks about deposits. You need to comply with two things, sir. What are these two things? Section 73 to 76 of Companies Act, RBI directives. If you don't comply with the above, orders will be passed against you by the Company Law Board, NCLT, RBI, or any other authority, and then the auditor needs to report whether you have complied with the order or not. Then comes clause number 6. How did we remember clause 6? Clause 6 is basically for the record. RECORD, 6 letters record. So cost records, in case of cost records, you need to check. As an auditor, you need to report whether they are required to be maintained as per the central government under section 148 subsection 1. If they are required to be maintained, you need to report yes. If the answer is yes, you need to report whether they are made and maintained or not. Then comes your clause number 7. S for statutory dues. So in this case, there are two types of statutory dues, undisputed and disputed. In case of undisputed, make sure they are deposited timely. If not, then the ones which are overdue for more than 6 months on the balance sheet date, that is the end of the period, then you have to report them. And for the disputed ones, you have to report only two things: amount and forum. Amount and forum where the dispute is pending. And remember, not appeal, write representation. Representation is not considered a dispute. Next point, sir. Clause number 8. We went on a date, and on that date, income tax authorities caught us with an unrecorded income. So in that unrecorded income is disclosed or surrendered to an IT department. If the unrecorded income is disclosed or surrendered to the IT department, then you need to talk whether it is recorded in the books of accounts or not. Then you need to report whether it is recorded in the books of accounts or not. And then comes clause number 9, ulta pulta of clause 3. In clause 3, we were giving the loans to the other persons. In clause 9, we have taken the loan. So first of all, you talk about two types of defaults. First case, you talk about the default in the repayment of loan. You talk about the person to whom you have made the default, amount of default, nature of default, default of a principal, default of a interest. Then you also need to talk about what was the reason for default, the period of default, the number of days for which you could not pay back, everything like that. And whether due to such default you have been declared a willful defaulter by the bank or financial institution. Whether you have been declared a willful defaulter. Now, what were the two cases of default? Misutilization of funds. First of all, have you applied the term loan for the purpose they were raised? If no, then state the amount and purpose for which you have utilized the loan. The second case was whether you are applying the short-term loan for a long-term purpose. Whether the short-term loan have been used for a long-term purpose. If yes, then again state the nature and amount. And the last 2 points were again related to your SAJVs. Whether you have taken a loan for an SAJV, if the answer is yes, then you need to state the nature and amount. Whether you have raised a loan on the basis of securities of SAJV, that means you have actually mortgaged the securities of SAJV and got the loan, then you need to state the details and have you made any default in repayment of that loan. Are the points still here clear or not? Just giving you a small break of 1 minute. Is everything till here clear? Whatever we are discussing. Isn't it too fast or too quick? Are you having this feel? Are you feeling that it's too quick or too fast? Just let me know. Because you people are not stopping me and I am continuing. So it is very important that you keep the pace with me. Clear? Am I taking things too fast? No? Fine? Yes. Cool. Cool. I'll resume. Cool. I'll resume. Just 10 minutes are left. Okay. Just 10-20 minutes are left and we'll end it up. Yeah, guys. So let's move. Not too fast, not too slow. Great. Now let's talk about clause number 10. How was clause number 10? 10, 10 at 10 IPO. 10, 10 at 10 IPO. So IPO talks about two things: IPO, FPO, and private placement. IPO, FPO, and private placement. So IPO, in case of IPO, what did we talk about? Utilization of funds. Whether the funds are utilized for the purpose they were raised. If not, you need to give the details and subsequent rectification. And in the second case, private placement and preferential allotment, you again need to talk about the utilization, but there were two special sections, 42, 62. Rhyming section, so you can easily remember them. Section 42 and 62, and the utilization part you need to discuss. Then we discussed about clause 11. What was clause 11 about? Dawn. Okay, corps of 11 countries. So fraud was the case that we discussed about. These are the three things that you need to talk about. Whether any fraud by or against the company has been noticed or reported during the period. If yes, then you need to state the nature and amount of fraud. Any fraud has been reported under 143 subsection 12 to the central government, inform ADT4. And the last point was whistleblower complaints. Here your clause 11 gets done. Got, sir. Clause 12. Who is coming at 12 p.m? Sir, Nidhi. So Nidhi will join at 12 p.m. This was the clause 12 all about. Net owned funds to deposit ratio of 1:20. At least 10% unencumbered deposit. And the last point was any default in repayment of the deposits. If there is any default on the repayment of deposits or interest, that also needs to be reported by the auditor. Now comes the flow of clause number 13. Unlucky related party, clause number 13. So clause number 13 talks about related party transaction where you need to comply with two sections and two accounting standards. What are the two sections? 177, 188. You can easily remember them. 77 related, 88 related, 77 related, 88 related. So compliance with section 177 and 188, and the financial statement should disclose the related party as per the relevant accounting standard, that is your AS 18 and Ind AS 24. Sir, related party did a fraud. Related party did something bad. Who caught it? Internal auditor. So in case of internal auditor, you will check two things: internal audit system and how as an auditor you considered the internal auditor report. What did the internal auditor find? That there was no cash available. So the company had to do non-cash transaction with the director or any other connected person and check the compliance with section 192. Since there is no cash available, how will we get the cash? Clause number 16, RBI. First 2 points regarding registration, last 2 points regarding CIC, that is the core investment company. Is registration under section 45 IA required? If the answer is yes, you ask whether it has been obtained or not. The second point is whether the company is conducting any non-banking work or housing finance work. Non-banking financial or housing finance activity without any registration, you need to report on that. And the next thing is, if company is a core investment company, whether the company is fulfilling the criteria, or if it is exempted from the core investment company registration, again is it fulfilling the criteria for being exempted. If a group is having more than one CIC, you need to state the number of CICs in that group. You need to indicate the number of CICs in that group. All this is about RBI. Okay, 4 things about RBI, 2 points about registration, 2 points about CIC. Then comes the 17th point. We got the cash from RBI in clause 16, but in 17th we lost it. It talks about cash losses in the current year and in the preceding financial year. Then you need to report the amount of cash loss. If there is cash loss, in clause 18 the auditor resigns. So clause 18 talks about resignation by the auditor, considering the issues raised by the outgoing auditor. So as an auditor, did you consider, in case an auditor has resigned before you, did you consider the issues, concerns and objections raised by the previous auditor? When the auditor resigns, what do you think? Company can continue or not? So company won't be able to continue. It may not be able to pay off the liabilities for the next 12 months. So the point is about the going concern. Clause 19, no material uncertainty that the company will be able to pay off the liabilities within the next 12 months. Last 2 clauses for the day. Clause number 20. Clause number 20 is regarding your CSR. Sir, how did we remember CSR? So you must have watched a lot of ads in your IPL 2020. You must have watched a lot of ads in your IPL T20. In this, one of the ads is regarding Reliance. One of the ads is of the Reliance, in which Neeta Ambani ji, Neeta Ambani ji comes with very small kids. She comes with very small kids and promote the Reliance Foundation. What is the Reliance Foundation? It is a CSR activity where this advertisement is happening in the IPL T20 match. So remember 2020. This is your clause number 2020 in which CSR activities takes place. CSR, two types of CSR. One is your CSR expenditure, one is your eligible project. The CSR expenditure should be done within the reasonable time. If it is not done within the year, the amount of CSR expenditure has to be transferred to a scheduled fund. It has to be transferred to a fund under Schedule 7 within a period of 6 months. So in case of other unspent amount, unspent amount, it needs to be transferred to a Schedule 7 fund within a period of 6 months from the expiry of financial year. In case it is related to an ongoing project, example school. If it is related to an ongoing project, it needs to be transferred to a special account, not your own bank account. And the clause 21 talks about qualification or adverse remark by the auditors of the companies included in CFS. If there is any qualification or adverse remark of the subsidiary auditors, then the details of the companies and the para numbers need to be stated. Details of the companies and the para numbers to be stated. That's all about CARO 2020. That's all about CARO 2020. I hope you enjoyed the revision. After this revision, again go through these clauses, complete the question bank. That's all is required from CARO 2020. Please study well, and yeah, soon you will clear this exam and make yourself and your parents proud about it. All the best, guys. God bless you all, and yeah, see you in the next revision session.